take out this worksheet so we can take the notes on order of operations. So in this first top box here, we're going to write an uppercase P, and that's the first part of our order of operations. Usually most people write it as a P. I like G for grouping symbols, but most people say P for parentheses. But again, it would be any grouping symbols. So you could have G. So in other words, we can have parentheses or braces or brackets or even a fraction bar, the vinculum, the fraction bar, that can act as a grouping symbol. So if we had more than one term in the numerator or denominator, that fraction bar acts as like invisible parentheses. So it separates the numerator and denominator into two separate groups. For the second box right below this one, we're going to write a big E, and that stands for exponents. But also, if we happen to have roots in our expression, it would also be the part where we would evaluate any roots, like square roots, cubed roots, fourth roots. Underneath that, you'll see a space, and we're going to draw two arrows because the thing that comes next will depend on which expression you're simplifying. So in the next two boxes, we're going to write M and D for multiplication and division. But it's not always going to be multiplication before division. It's whichever one comes first, left to right. So if you're reading an expression and now you're at the point where you're going to look for multiplication and division, you want to see which one appears in the expression first, left to right, and you would do that one. So you might do division before multiplication. Under there, we're going to draw the same two arrows. Oh, actually, nope, sorry. On the left. On the left. So this is on the left side of our notes. We do want to make sure that the parentheses we're looking at, we want to know what are they indicating. Sometimes we use parentheses to group things together, but sometimes we just use them as a multiplication symbol. So be careful about your parentheses. If it's, say, like 3 in parentheses and 2 in parentheses next to each other, you would be multiplying 3 times 2. So underneath the box where we had M and D, we're going to draw the same two arrows that we did from the exponents box, because again, for the next two operations, we're going to do whichever one comes first, left to right. So make sure, let me go back to that in case you didn't see it. So you're going to draw those arrows like that. So in the left box, we'll write an uppercase A, and in the right box, we'll write an uppercase S, standing for addition and subtraction. But again, just like multiplication division, we're going to do whichever one comes first in order from left to right. So at the top of our page, if you look at the top right, you'll see a note, something to remember. When you're working within parentheses, you kind of have to start all over again and reapply the order of operations. So if you have parentheses within parentheses, that you would need to evaluate that first. So you still follow the order of operations when you're in the parentheses, and you work from the innermost parentheses out. So let's complete our example. So right underneath it, I'm going to ask you to write the original expression there. You'll see I have it in color just to match the colors that I used for each of the operations, but you don't have to do that, but I just wanted to highlight all of those operations. So if we look, the first thing that we look for are grouping symbols or parentheses, and we have a set. You can see them there in purple. So we're going to simplify everything inside the parentheses. There's just one thing to do. It's just that subtraction. So we'll subtract the 3 minus 1 to give us 2. And then from there, you just copy everything else that appears. So we just copy down everything else. So now there's no more parentheses. So next we look for exponents. And if you look at that little orange 2, we have exponents. So we evaluate 2 squared, so that's 4. And then just copy everything else. Now we don't have any more exponents, so now we look for multiplication or division. We have both. We have division and multiplication, and division actually comes first left to right, so we're going to do 4 divided by 2 before we do 2 times 5, because it comes first left to right. So we'll do 4 divided by 2, so obviously that's 2, and then we bring everything else down. We still are at the multiplication division level because we still have a multiplication to complete, so we'll do that 2 times 5, giving us 10, and copy everything else down. And then now all we have is addition and subtraction, but in this case subtraction comes first left to right, so we're going to do 10 minus 3 first. So 10 minus 10 first. So 10 minus 10 is 0, and then we're going to add 3 at the end, so we have 0 plus 3, so this expression simplifies to 3. If you notice kind of the shape, if you do this correctly, it should kind of get skinnier and skinnier as you go down until you get to your final answer. Okay, great job.